All right, today we're going to dive into a really elegant surgical solution called Jaboulay's operation. It's a classic procedure for a common and frankly uncomfortable condition, and we're going to break down exactly how it works step by step.
So, let's just start with this question. How can something as simple as a surgical fold, just changing the anatomy a little bit, provide a permanent solution to a chronic problem? That's the genius we're going to unpack right now. Okay, so before we can get to the solution, you got to understand the problem, right? The condition is called a hydrocele, and all that really means is you've got a collection of fluid inside the tunica vaginalis. You know, that thin little sheath that surrounds the testicle. When fluid builds up in there, it causes swelling.
All right, first up, let's look at the specific problem this surgery is designed to solve, and, just as important, how the team gets ready for the procedure.
Jaboulay's operation isn't for just any hydrocele. It's specifically for what's called a large primary vaginal hydrocele. Basically, we're talking about a lot of fluid buildup that's causing some real, noticeable swelling and discomfort. And that's the exact problem this surgery targets.
So, before a single cut is made, a whole lot has to happen. First, the patient is positioned on their back. Then, spinal anesthesia is used to numb the whole area. After that, the region is meticulously prepped and draped. It's all about making sure the procedure is safe, sterile, and ready to go.
Okay, let's get into the surgery itself. The first major goal is pretty straightforward. You have to gain access to that hydrocele sac.
The whole thing kicks off with 3 really precise moves. First, the surgeon makes a vertical incision through the skin and the muscle layer just beneath it. Next, they carefully dissect around that fluid-filled sac, the tunica vaginalis, and bring it out into the open. And finally, they make a small opening in the sac, and whoosh, all that trapped, straw-colored fluid just drains right out.
Now, with all that fluid gone and everything clearly visible, the surgeon pauses. This is an absolutely crucial moment where they do a careful inspection of the testes and epididymis. It's a critical check to make sure there are no other hidden issues before they move on.
And here we are. This is the absolute heart of the procedure, the key step that makes this operation so incredibly effective.
This right here, this is the moment that defines the entire Jaboulay's operation, the part that gives it its name and makes it work so well.
And what's so cool is that the source material we're looking at calls this out specifically. They literally label it the key step. So this isn't just another part of the process. This is where the magic really happens.
So what is this key step? Well, it's a technique called eversion. It's brilliant. First, the sac is opened up all the way. Then, and this is the genius part, it's turned completely inside out, or everted. So the inner surface that used to produce the fluid is now facing outwards, behind the testis. Finally, the edges of this flipped-out sac are stitched together with sutures that will dissolve on their own.
And this is where it all clicks. You might be asking, why do all this? Because by turning that sac inside out, you've completely eliminated its ability to collect and trap fluid around the testes. You've fundamentally changed the anatomy to make sure this problem can never come back. It's a permanent fix.
So, with the main problem solved, it's time to wrap things up. This final phase is all about getting everything closed up safely for a good outcome.
You know, finishing the job is just as critical as the main event. The surgeon makes absolutely sure any bleeding is stopped. That's called hemostasis. Then the testis is carefully put back where it belongs in the scrotum. The tissue layers are then closed up one by one. And finally, a pressure dressing and some support are applied to help everything heal nicely.
And you can see here, this careful closing process, it's all about making sure everything heals up perfectly. This is absolutely vital for preventing any issues down the road.
And this brings us to the single most important takeaway, summed up perfectly in this quote. Jaboulay's operation prevents recurrence by eversion of tunica vaginalis. It's direct, it's definitive, it's exactly why this works. So when you boil it all down, what have we got? A simple, really elegant change to the anatomy that creates a permanent fix for what can be a really chronic problem. It's just a fantastic example of smart, effective surgical design.